Riley, I want to start with you. President Biden stated again this week how he stands by his proposal to expand Title IX through its meaning of sexual discrimination to include gender identity. Now, you have been a huge voice in this fight following your competitive meets with trans swimmer Leah Thomas. How disturbing is it to see another state like North Carolina not take into account how women's sports doesn't have to be fair for all women?
It's an abomination. What the Biden administration is doing in regards to rewriting Title IX to where it's now no longer discriminating on the basis of sex. It would be preventing discrimination on the basis of gender identity. Look, they're doing this in the guise of being inclusive, but what these policies really are, what this veto from Governor Roy Cooper in North Carolina, what that really is it's exclusive. It's exclusive to the very female athletes who Title IX and the women's sporting category was created to protect.
Yeah. Bobby, how are protecting women's sports, is this going to help the Republican Party earn more votes ahead of the 2024 election? How big of a part of this is this issue going to play in all of this?
Well, you know, you have issues, right? You have taxes and budget and all of this stuff. But when you're talking about these cultural issues, you see it play a bigger and bigger role in society. And this is going to help us big. I just came off helping some school board elections. And one of the issues was boys and girls sports. The Texas legislature just passed a bill, which will not be vetoed, which is signed to protect women's sports. And so you see a growing movement in any time that you can have an issue that is based on common sense and biology, core subjects like that, makes it easy for the Republicans because people that don't follow politics, so-called independent voters, maybe they just come out for the presidential election, they're going to be interested, saying, hey, wait, this Democrat Party looks like the party of extremists. That drives people to vote. And if we can gain more votes, the better. But if we can protect women's sports, that's ultimately what we want to do.
Yeah. And Brianna, this trans agenda goes beyond women's sports. The CDC now providing guidance on its website for transgender and non-binary communities on how to chest feed their newborns. Yes, chest feeding. Brianna, where does this stop? Does this make any sense to you at all?
I don't know where it stops, but where it should stop is the science, because the CDC, they advise women who are breastfeeding to avoid things like caffeine, coffee, chocolate, and even seafood, because it can seep into breast milk and have adverse side effects on infants. And yet here they are putting out these advisories and seemingly guidance for men who are being pumped full of synthetic hormones, including domperidone, which is a synthetic hormone meant to help people lactate. And the study shows that that can actually cause irregular heartbeats in infants. And it's the same drug that in 2004, the FDA warned women to stop taking because of the health risks for infants. And so we don't know any of the long-term side effects. And here you have the CDC, a organization supposed to be based on science, encouraging this, and no one on the left speaking out about the lack of science.
Clara, jump in on this. This is unbelievable. The CDC is actually putting this out there. Is this not too extreme?
This is part of the reality distortion field that the left is promulgating. And I couldn't be prouder of the young women that you have on today, Riley, Brianna, that are fighting the fight. This is the new women's movement in the 21st century. I wonder how long it'll be before transgender men start taking women's jobs. I spent decades fighting for equality in the business community. Now we're taking a step backward in a bizarre cultural way.
It just seems crazy to me. Like, Riley, I want you to jump in on this as well. Chest feeding. This has got to be too far.
It absolutely is too far. And if you're referring to the man who went kind of viral over the weekend, he's an advisor to the UK government. He had an infant sucking on his nipple as if he is breastfeeding, of course. But other pictures that have surfaced of this man, which include some of his fetishes, such as nipple clamps and other things, it shows really that ultimately we're normalizing pedophilia. That's what this is. It's a perversion. It's sick. It's disgusting. And it's at the expense of young children. And a lot of these cultural issues, it's specifically targeting vulnerable children, women, and it's time to roll up our sleeves and say enough is enough, because what we're normalizing now, it's a slippery slope.
Bobby, staying with this, is this not for the infant? Is this not child abuse in some way? If they're not getting the right nutrients, that a man is chest feeding a child.
Right. And I want to echo what Brianna said, because it was awesome. She mentioned there's no long-term data on giving these drugs to men, but there was warnings against women taking them and what it would do to affect the infant. And so it doesn't matter what you pump these guys with, what's coming out is not nourishing breast milk. And I mean, it goes back to Riley. This is some kind of fetish. These guys are pervos. I mean, and it is child abuse that is being sanctioned by the CDC. So again, they lost all credibility during COVID, and now they're doing this. It's like maybe people will finally tune out and find people that will actually give sound medical advice based on science, based on medicine, long-term care, and repercussions, and not push a political agenda in the name of healthcare.
Clara, where do we go from here?
I think again, I believe, like many of your guests today are saying, common sense will start to prevail here, because we're moving in such absurd and dangerous directions where babies' health, children's health is endangered, and we're changing the dynamics of what common sense is. So in my opinion, I think it's starting to go too far. We should speak reasonably and rationally. I think we have some very strong voices in the field, and move forward with common sense.
Absolutely. We have to leave it there, but thank you everyone for joining in on this. Riley Gaines, Brianna Lyman, our special guests here, Bobby Eberle, and Clara Delvalar. Please stay with us. We'll be right back with a more Saturday agenda.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.